Hi, I'm Scott Marshall with A&N Mortgage, and I'm here with Nicole Boston from Beard and Warner. Nicole and I have worked together for several years now, and Nicole has had the experience of having been on House Hunters on HGTV. And Nicole, I wanted to know, how did that experience on House Hunters not prepare you, but help expand your business and help you after you were on that show?
Well, it was a lot of fun. But the funny thing is, I mean, I had no idea how many people actually watched the show.
Right.
So just being out and about, just running errands, I have people that actually recognize me while I'm checking out in the store. Yeah, so
Nice.
it's kind of fun. The experience, it was very much like how I would show a home normally,
Right.
but just with a lot more people there and obviously filming.
Right. Now, as far as your previous job or career, I know you used to be an event planner back when. How do you think the transition from that job has helped you in this career?
It's interesting because I think it was actually a very easy transition. I went from planning corporate and social events and obviously some super high-end, very important events for people, weddings, rehearsal dinners, huge company events. And so for them, that event was extremely special and important. So details and all that goes into it behind the scenes really relays itself into the real estate world. You know, you're just helping
Sure.
people on a grander scale with a huge purchase.
Sure.
And so many details, timings, things that need to happen. So it's like a lot of work again behind the scenes of getting it all together.
Sure, and you're not working with them for that long a period of time, but the time period you are working for them, it's very intense, it's very sensitive. Everyone they don't always need you, but when they need you now, they need you now.
Exactly.
So,
And I'm very used to that, and I kind of anticipate it to get ahead of the game just now being in that for so long.
Sure, sure. Nicole, as far as your experience right now when working with buyers too, what's the number one issue that keeps you up at night?
Oof, the number one issue
Number
that
one
keeps me
issue.
issue. Working with buyers right now is finding them a home,
Okay.
finding them inventory. I have quite a few buyers that, yeah, inventory is picking up right now. You can see the start of spring market,
Sure.
but they're just not popping up for my specific buyers and what they're searching for. So now I'm starting to look at off-market properties and reach out to potential sellers to see if they're willing to sell their home, not to represent them, but to hopefully find something and secure it for my buyer.
Sure, and the challenge with inventory remains the same with people holding on to 2 and 3% interest rates.
Yeah.
A lot of them, if they're even going to buy another house, they're keeping that house and using it as a rental property moving forward.
So true.
So how do you combat that? When you're going to look at a lot of these houses and you're telling these buyers that they're going to go up against offers from 7 or 8 or 10 different people, how do you try to give them a competitive advantage when making the offers?
For me, I definitely call the list agent just to see where the seller's help points are possibly. And then also just kind of throwing everything at them. I mean, whatever my buyer's most comfortable with, but doing an appraisal gap waiver, doing possibly an escalation clause if they're accepted, getting them a pre-approval that's a pre-qualified as well and just getting them through that hump
Sure.
of just being a strong buyer.
Sure. Do you ever run into a situation where you have a buyer that wants to make a bid on 2 different houses?
At the same time, I have. The good thing is that if, once you put in an offer, if it's not been accepted, you could definitely pull out.
Sure.
So it really depends on the timing of the situation,
Sure.
and the situation that the buyers are in. for
Right.
Sure.
I know a lot of buyers right now are, thinking, well, I might as well make an offer on everything, and then we'll start really honing in if I can make it to the second round.
Yeah, that could be a little tough and get a little crazy too
Sure.
at the same point.
Sure.
I think buyers need to kind of hone down in what they really, really want,
Right.
instead of just like throwing everything out there. Because at the same time, if they don't necessarily like the home that much,
Sure.
going under contract just to cancel it is just
Right.
a waste of everyone's time too.
These are your concerns from being on the buying side. What are your concerns as a list agent?
As a list agent, well, I listed something yesterday and we had about 10 showings in the first day of going live. Quite a few offers that came in late last night. So as a list agent, my goal is making sure that the buyers are stable and will be able to close. So that's following up with the lender that made the offer, and just working with their financials and making sure that they're a solid client that would close.
With the new 8.0 contract out, what do you see are the biggest changes versus the previous version?
One of the significant changes that comes to my mind is that now under the inspection part, it's actually broken up. So you could be able to take it as is, but then if you are doing an inspection, you have to either check that you're doing an inspection with no requests or an inspection with requests. So, which is interesting because over the last couple of years, obviously since COVID, everybody's been putting offers through, or many times offers through as is.
Right.
And as is, as we know, doesn't necessarily mean as is.
Correct.
So I think the 8.0 contract coming out, they wanted to alleviate that for the sell side. There was a little bit of frustration. So now for buyers, they do have to put in there, either they're going to do the inspection and they won't make any requests, or they'll do the inspection and they'll be asking for requests.
What if it comes up where there's a deal-breaking issue and the buyer doesn't want to move forward? Do they have any out besides canceling that contract and rewriting another contract with a different clause?
I don't think that would really be an option. I think if they're potentially wanting to move forward with it, but there is this issue, I think that needs to be negotiated between the attorneys, from the seller and the buyer.
So even if the box is still checked, everything is still open to some sort of
Of
negotiation.
course, I mean, do the sellers have the right to cancel the contract if you do request something at that point?
Sure.
Yes, it could just be off the table at that
Right.
point. That is a little bit of a risk, but I think that you kind of get a feeling, especially as an agent being in the transaction, to know whether or not you can ask for something, and especially something that's major
Right.
that potentially could deter future buyers.
Exactly.
That's something that,
Exactly.
yeah.
A safety issue, for example,
Safety, health.
or something that is, some $15,000 expense.
Huge expense,
is certainly going to change the needle on someone's appetite.
Absolutely.
For the first time in roughly, I would say 3 to 6 months, rates are starting to come down. Is there any price point that you think will really change the market? That if rates get down to this percentage, you could see supply opening up or inventory opening up in a much greater.
That's a great question. Inventory has been an issue since COVID.
Sure.
Rates are coming down slightly, but not as much as we need them to. And
Very
I don't anticipate much movement for the rest of the year. I think in order for sellers to be a little bit more amped to put their home for sale, it has to be somewhere in the fives.
I agree with that. I don't know how far. I don't know how far down in the five.
Yeah, maybe like a 5.5.
Right.
I don't think a high 5. I think a low, like a 5.5.
Right, and just because the Feds announced that they're not going to be cutting rates at the rate they thought they were before, that to me doesn't determine what rates are going to do, because it's really being driven by the stock and bond market right now, not by the Fed. The last 2 times the Fed cut rates, rates went up, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I've been doing this for 33 years, and anytime the Feds cut rates, it was a signal that the next 12 months we were going to have lower rates. And traditionally it was always that way, and it was that way. Now in the last 6 months, I've seen the writing on the wall that it's a whole new era in terms of correlation between the Fed and 30-year fixed rates.
So true. And I think, what we're seeing now with inventory is people that are putting their homes up for sale, it's like they have big events happening in their life, death, divorce, growing larger family, things of that nature, moving out of state for a job. So it's some major life changes that are really adding to the inventory. But we need those that are thinking about possibly selling, because there's people out there that'll buy.
Right. So up to now, with the rates being what it is, it's really need over greed.
Yeah.